What is up, everybody? You are listening to Beyond the Breakdown with Six Scars. I am the host, JT, and I am once again joined by former podcast guest, Matt Sassano. Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey man, doing great, man. Like I said, there was episode 4, and now we're right here at episode 36. And you weren't kidding, dude. Like your new intro, I'm really digging. I was headbanging. I'm excited to be here, man. It's good.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited to have you here, dude. And shout out to I Am Mook. They are the ones that did the intro, and man, I love it so much.
I'm seeing it, man. You're coming a long way, and I'm just glad to be back full circle, man.
Dude, yeah, so we're gonna dive right into that since you said full circle. So when you were last on here, we got to know you, we got to know some of your story, and man, I was listening to it today, and you want to talk about coming full circle, dude. The last time you were here, we discussed happy family.
Yeah.
And that was, I swear, man, that was like the kickstart to your entire year, and you've been nonstop ever since.
Yeah, man. Happy Family was one of those songs that just really like opened up a huge conversation. Like for people who don't know it, it's about domestic abuse. I come from a background of, pretty heavy domestic abuse. The twist in that whole situation is I was born a pastor's son. So, on one side you kind of learned what you learned in church, but then on the flip side, my dad was very duplicitous in his personality. So I wanted to create a song that was just an anthem for people who have to smile in the midst of abuse. And you wouldn't believe like the people that have just like messaged me all the time talking about their struggles that they've never really, been upfront with. And Happy Family was like a huge start of that. And I think that that's like my overall goal with this entire music is to just open up conversations that aren't typically had within either the mainstream or like the Christian music industry. And I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So going into being with the Christian music industry, what is it like kind of doing the mental health aspect? Because you don't see, in my opinion, too many Christian rock artists that are really truly touching on violence as far as family nature goes. What is it like kind of being I guess, a wall breaker for that one?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I get like a mix of reactions a lot of times. Like when people say Christian music, I think they have like two definitions. They have the one definition in their mind where it's like, okay, this music is just exclusively for Christians. I like to write songs that like relate to everybody, but
Hmm.
my faith is at the core of it, just organically. You know what I mean? It's not me trying to be a quote unquote Christian artist. It's just the fact that I'm a Christian and I try to write things that apply to me. And if people are along for the ride, then that's cool. But it has been a little bit different because on some ends, a lot of people in the Christian music industry will say like, oh, there's not enough like hope in this particular song. It doesn't like end on an up note. We need to show positivity. And on the other hand, you get people that really embrace it. So on one hand, like I'm getting a lot of messages from people that are saying, dude, like I went through domestic abuse and my father and my mother was very abusive to me and it's really helping me. And then on the other hand, there's people in the Christian world that don't quite get, like, they think that everything has to end in like the hallelujah type of realm. And it's just like, no, man, like I want to just be real with everything that I'm doing. And sometimes it's not about always just like knowing that you have the answer that helps people. Like it's like that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I feel like that's like the kind of core of my music. I talk about things like disabilities. I talk about things like domestic abuse or things that like aren't typically brought up. And so it comes with its challenges, but I think that we're kind of pushing the envelope, kind of creating a brand new movement out of this in some ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think more people need to be open about the darker side of life in all kinds of music, not just,
Yeah.
the heavy metal or the rock or anything, but Christian rock as well. Because what good is the faith that you have if it's not supposed to get you through the harder times that you've been through as well?
Yeah, exactly. And there, nothing wrong with like, the uplifting music and stuff
No,
like that. But
no.
I remember like, as I was a kid, I loved a lot of Christian music and mainstream music, everything from Linkin Park to Project 86 to Disciple. And there was some cool stuff. But at the same time, like I always kind of wished that people would be speaking to my issues. There wasn't I mean, there was a lot of great songs, but there weren't like specific stuff to my issues. So I really try to cut to the core of a lot of things.
Mhm.
And I think because of like a lot of the closed offness of my upbringing, of like, you know, the abuse going on and people saying like, oh, you can't talk about this, or oh, you, and like a lot of people just collectively turning a blind eye to my situation. When I, about the time that I got into music, I was like, okay, I'm going to bring up these things that need to be said in the most like, you know, transparent way possible, hopefully.
Yeah. And for those that are wanting to find out the meaning of his other songs, please go back to episode 4. Don't mind me. I was definitely still finding my way. But we broke down almost every single song that you released to that point, and
Yeah.
we got some really, really good insights on that. So for anybody listening, go back to episode 4 and you will get your fill of a lifetime of just an incredible story. Um, so I gotta ask you, man, what has it been like kind of dealing with the is it dyscalculia or
Yes.
dyscalculia? Yes, I
Yeah,
couldn't.
I don't even know. Like, I was diagnosed late, so I'm just kind of coming into like even how to pronounce it. You know, I wasn't diagnosed till I was about 19, but that particular disability, dyscalculia, I think it's called. It's definitely difficult. There's things that like I am unable to do that kind of just like the average day person takes for granted. Like I can't drive, I can't. You know, it's a very mathematical disability, so I don't think I've ever passed a math test in my life. Like that was just off the, yeah, that was off the table. And just different struggles that I've had, that like I'm heavily reliant on family or friends for. Oftentimes I can't tell directions, so if I'm in a car with somebody, I literally have to trust the driver. So if I'm in an Uber and you know, I don't know the person, I get like this mini panic attack because I'm like, what if they want to like take me off to the woods and hack me alive with like a knife? I wouldn't know, you know, or whatever. There's just that like unsettling feeling of like not knowing the world around you, and I think that that's kind of what's fueled my music, is that sense of like, you know, feeling like an outcast in many ways, or feeling like, you know, the world, I didn't understand the world in the way everybody else understood it. And so yeah, man, it was crazy having that upbringing and not knowing the disabilities I have. Now that I have like the diagnosis, it makes a little more sense. But like I grew up
Mhm.
frequently just being like, what's wrong with me, man? I don't understand this.
Uh, So I may have asked this in the first podcast, but if I didn't, you said it's a mathematical based disability. So theoretically, could that have stopped you from learning to do music because you have to keep time?
Yeah, in a weird way, I don't know. Like it has, like music was the only thing that kind of like, I don't know, it like really clicked with me, but theoretically it should have. Like I remember for a really, really short time, I tried to learn the regular electric guitar,
Hmm.
and for whatever reason, I could never do that. I just like people would try to teach me, and they'd be like third fret, third finger, second string, and like when you get all those demands at you, it was like, oh my god, like I can't like keep track of all those sequences, so I'm trying to like
Hmm.
piece it together in my mind. And then I finally just gave up on guitar. And what I found, this was kind of my gateway into music, was the bass guitar. And then with the bass guitar, I could pick it up. I could kind of do it by ear. And I was like, oh, dude, this is cool. I could do this. And I really formed this passion for bass guitar. And it was my original plan to kind of play bass and write songs. But, you know, there was other plans, you know what I mean? Those unexpected things where I just became a singer. Um, People started dropping out of my bands repeatedly, and I was like, you know, we just can't keep reintroducing singers every other week. And so at that point, I had put down the bass and kind of dedicated myself to becoming the singer and the front man. And yeah, for anybody out there who has had the struggle of trying to keep together a band, like I feel for you, man. It's a tough thing. And
It definitely is.
yeah, that's the thing that kind of made me realize like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to like make myself into the front man. So any musicians out there, I sympathize with you, man. The band life is tough.
It absolutely can be, man. The band I'm part of, we're kind of on like a 1 month hiatus where we've all been getting sick, and it's just been like, you know, schedules and holidays and so on. So But moving forward, I want to talk to you because last time you were on, you were getting ready to gear up and go play with Petra, I recall. And that seems like a lifetime ago, man. You've done so much stuff since then. Kind of like just give us a fill in of what you've been up to.
Yeah, man, it's just been a crazy time. Like I said, last April was Petra, and for anybody who doesn't know who Petra might be, in the Christian world, they were kind of the pioneers of what you would call Christian rock. So it would be the equivalent of you going to open for like a Black Sabbath or something
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? And so I remember when I was 10 years old, I was at like this kind of like getaway play, like a church themed getaway, and they had a gift shop in this place that they were having the convention thing, and I picked up a Petra tape, and that was kind of my introduction into Christian rock. So full circle, I guess somebody that I knew had connections with Bob Hartman, who is the guitarist for Petra. And my family came home. They were like, dude, I have some great news. And I figured like, pizza for dinner or something. I was like, that's awesome. And they were like, no, dude, you're opening for Petra. And so that began the whole like just surreal feeling of just getting to meet those guys on a one-on-one basis and kind of pick all their brains backstage and share stories. And it was a crazy experience, man. It was really cool. And then on the flip side, like I've also opened for a lot of just like mainstream bands. So I've opened for, Smile Empty Soul at one point, and I've opened for Bubba Sparks was a weird one. He's kind of a rapper, country rapper. We got thrown into that, so I've done local support for him. So it's just been a very diverse kind of journey. We do a lot of different stuff in both the Christian and mainstream worlds, but the Petra thing was definitely one of those milestone moments.
Man, I mean, I could only imagine what that's been like too, because growing up inside the Christian household like I did as well, I listened to Petra constantly. I was always listening to their CDs, and I mean, you have to respect what they can do. I mean, they are absolutely pioneers, and they may not pass as like a heavy rock or anything like that, but they were such a gateway
Yeah.
for other music to open up in the genre. And it's like, man, to have the chance just to pick their brain and know what that life has kind of been like, that's got to be crazy.
Yeah, man, it really was just seeing them like kind of backstage and like they're in their 80s. Like I just like, 70s, 80s type of thing. So I'm like, man, if I could just get like a fraction of it, like still be doing what I'm doing at like 80 years old, that would be amazing. But yeah, it was just weird because after a tour like that, you guys, we become friends and all that. And I got to meet like Bob Hartman's son and like, hang out with him. And it was just like a weird experience. Cause like I said, I come into this music, a participant now, but just as much a fan. So it's just like this weird moment where you get to meet all these people that help shape your music taste. And I'm like, my jaw's like dropped to the floor every single time one of these opportunities comes up, even still, it's like I never get numb to that. And so it's really
Wow.
cool.
Well, I mean, to go back to what you were just talking about, the other artists that you've gotten open for, Smile Empty Soul, man. I mean, what a huge one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Smile Empty Soul was amazing. Like when I was a kid, watching MTV, their songs, Bottom of the Bottle
Bottom
and
of the
all that
bottle,
stuff.
silhouettes.
And their song Nowhere Kids was kind of one of the inspirations, I would say, for my song Happy Family. And
Oh,
so yeah, man, like it was just one of those things where on one end you're playing for like strictly, kind of Christian audiences, which is awesome. And then on the other hand, we've gotten to open for a lot of just different people that might not be on like a faith journey, but like love the music and relate to it. And that's what I really love about this whole thing is we get to play for so many different uh, people and backgrounds and get to meet so many people in so many different arenas of rock.
so I mean, yeah, absolutely. And the next phase that I kind of want to talk about that's happened just this year for you is your breakout song for me is Violated.
Oh wow, dude. Yeah, that song definitely like right now it's doing pretty well on the Christian rock radio side, which is really crazy because that's another song where you kind of run into a little bit of resistance, I guess, what you could say. There was a lot of people that were saying like, this song might be a little too dark for the Christian industry. Are you sure you want to like, you know, bring this up? Because it's really, you know, it's about sexual abuse and human trafficking. Sexual abuse I've never necessarily ultimately gone through myself, but again, I think a lot of why I do the music that I do is to open these unique conversations. And while I've never been human trafficked, it was kind of my way of saying, like, you know, who have we left behind in our conversation? Like, how do we, what conversation can we start that really matters, and like that I can be somewhat of a, like, I guess a champion for those kinds of people? Because I think it goes back to my upbringing of just feeling forgotten, and like people were turning a blind eye to me, and like, you know, as I was getting abused, people would just turn a blind eye. So really the goal in the music was, and for Violated, was be like, well, I've never necessarily gone through this, but like, what are people turning a blind eye to that maybe needs more light shed on it? And so just to see a song like that go so far in the Christian world is opening up a unique conversation. And I'm just like, really, I'm stoked, man, because I'm proving people wrong. I'm like, man, we can do this. We can write about this stuff. There's nothing off the table here. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. And through this song, I've met maybe 3 or 4 former human trafficking survivors. And so they get to tell me their stories. They're talking to me on a daily basis and just telling me like, yeah, man, because of Violated, like we feel really heard out here.
Man,
Yeah.
I I you gave me chill bumps with that one, man. I mean, the song is incredible in itself, and then getting to not getting to that seems like it's an honor or something. It's not an honor, but seeing the story of somebody that has actually gone through that and hearing that that song has uplifted them,
Yeah.
man, dude, that had to be like a putting you on your butt.
Dude, it was so crazy because I have a friend named Mary Nickel, and she works with directly survivors of human trafficking. So the thing was, is like when we created the song, it was all with those people in mind. And I didn't know this going in because I had limited understanding, but like things in artwork that people typically, human trafficking victims don't like to see is like the gags and the chains. They don't want to feel victimized. So like everything from the artwork was tweaked. Everything from like, it was like a whole learning curve for me to like create a song that not only sounded cool from like my vantage point, but also would like, you know, serve as a great song for them and not make them feel like, oh, you know, we're victims out here or whatever, which they, you know, they've gone through a lot of different things, but I don't think anybody likes to be viewed as a quote unquote victim. And so I had to like really try to figure out like, how do we create this song to where it's not like triggering to people that have gone through it? And it's just so crazy because just today, one of those human trafficking survivors went and ordered a Matt Sassano hoodie for her birthday. It was her birthday today. And so we've had lots of different conversations with these people, and it's just so cool to like bring them all together.
Dude, man, that's insane. Because I was actually gonna touch on the artwork because now knowing that you had to revamp it and kind of restylize it makes it just so much more impactful because I looked at it and it looked like somebody who was being taken out of, captivity, basically, like they were being liberated. Um, and I love the artwork, man. I thought you did an amazing job with getting it done.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, we had several different like artwork interpretations. One of the interpretations that you'll never see was like I had like a dollar bill as a gag on somebody crying, which was cool, but like again, it was kind of like that victimized feel. And so Mary, who works with these survivors directly through an organization called Exodus Road, she was like, "Hey, man, what if we tweak it this way?" And it just kind of ended up working out to where like those oppressive hands that you see, like the black hands kind of stretching out,
Yeah.
losing grip of that person, and then she's kind of breaking free, which kind of reframed the whole thing. And like I said, man, it's just been so crazy. And also like there's been people that have dealt in trafficking that have like messaged us, like not necessarily a lot, but like threatening and doing all that stuff. So there's that stuff, that side of it too, where
Oh,
people,
wow.
yeah, like people are saying, oh, uh, just trying to scare us a little.
Man, that has to feel intense though at times.
Yeah, yeah, you get like these screenshots from people that are saying like the organization that you're tied up with is fraudulent, and like just get doing propaganda stuff. We know that all the people that we're working with through Exodus Road are awesome, but you get those people that try to, diminish what they're doing because they're nervous about what's taking place and all that. And so it's just been a really wild ride, but I just thought, hey man, like why not just bring this up, bring it out in the open. And one of the passions that I have with music is to take these really difficult, like these difficult subjects like disabilities, domestic abuse, and frame them in a way where they have like the catchiness of a radio song. So like you'll take something that's like totally out in left field a little bit for radio, something that you would never think would make it radio, and then like really pour your best into making those lines catchy and kind of making it singable. And like that's one of my huge passions is like making those songs accessible as possible so like the more people hear them.
Yeah. Dude, two of my favorite choruses from you is probably Happy Family and Violated.
Oh really?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
I love the chorus in Violated, but Happy Family still has it beat a little bit more.
yeah, yeah, man. It's an interesting thing with Violated. We changed the chorus. I worked on a chorus for like 6 hours. Like I'm very like when I get in the zone of writing a song, I'll just write it like crazy. And I remember like writing this initial chorus for Violated. I liked it, but it took too long to get to the point. Like I was like, this is way. So after 6 hours of working on an initial chorus for Violated, I crumpled it up, threw it in the trash, and I was like, we got to revamp here. So then the version that you heard was our second version and the one that made it on. But I'm glad it worked, dude. Thank you.
Oh, dude, not a problem. And the way you were just saying about, getting to the point with choruses and songs, I think the best example I could give of that would be Chevelle. Man, their storytelling in their songs is just like it's so concise.
Oh, dude, they're so good, man. And they're one of those bands that I just grew up loving and listening to a lot. Like I don't know if you remember, like even back, Point Number One was one of the first songs that I ever heard from them
Yeah.
before the Red and all that kind of stuff. That was one of those where I had this like there was like a Christian satellite station at the time. They all kind of, because they were on Tooth and Nail, everybody assumed they were a Christian band or whatever. So it would be like 10 videos all day, 10 music videos on a loop all day, and Point Number One was always on. So I was headbanging at 11 years old with that track repeatedly all day.
Dude, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I'm gonna get into a little bit of the chat over here. If anybody who is watching, because podcast is obviously a famously visual medium, um, for those who are watching the video, I have a new layout. This is a brand new way of doing the podcast through this website. I stopped doing it the way I was before. Anyway, I now have the chat over to the side, but I've just kind of been, in free fall with this conversation, just enjoying it so much. And I didn't want to get caught up and not be able to finish any sentences. But Will Brawley from Liars Pacifist, he wants to know, is it challenging to still write about these things when there's people that attempt to silence you?
Yeah, like I don't want to give the wrong impression like it happens every day. It's definitely not one of those things that happens every day. With like the human traffickers. It has happened like once or twice, and you kind of get a little nervous. You're like, should I? But in a weird way, it's like I've got this guy Elon on my shirt, you know what I mean? And one of his famous quotes is, when something is worth doing, you do it, you know what I mean? No matter if the odds are against you. And so I'm kind of going with Elon on this one. It's like one of those things where, hey, let the chips fall where they may. If you have a message that you think that you need to bring to people, even if you're not like quote unquote a Christian message, and you just have something that's on your heart, you're a writer, you have an experience you want to share. I would always like lean towards authenticity more than anything else. Like there's a lot of people in the industry will be like, oh, this can't happen or that can't happen. Take informed opinions while you're writing, but at the same time, like always lean towards authenticity and don't let anything stop you. So to answer your question, yeah, it gets challenging at times, but like when you have that inner core of like wanting to be authentic, um, just let that guide you, and let the chips fall where they may, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, I think on the flip side, it's got to encourage you knowing that you're upsetting the path of the people that are doing these things to these people.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's so crazy to think that, like, we're in this media landscape too, where our songs can reach more people because we're, not dependent on record labels. And so when you blast something out there independently, it can reach everybody. And it's weird that that song even got heard in those circles and stuff like that. And like I said, my inbox is flooded with people who have either gone through sexual abuse or, been human trafficked, or and telling me their stories. It's like, this is just super surreal, man. Like, I never really thought, you know?
Man, I mean, it's it's hard to even transition away from this because I mean, it's just such a heavy topic, but I'm so glad that there's people like you and the people that have overcome dealing with this that are able to shed light on this, because in America, we really don't hear too much about the idea of human trafficking. Like it's almost like this folklore, scary
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, and it's often like when you think about human trafficking, you're thinking about like Taken, where somebody swooped up in a van and never heard from again. And while those do happen, like, people need to realize that stuff like this is happening all around them under the guise of like just darkness and discreetness. Usually it comes in the form of a relationship, or a boyfriend or something that incrementally coerces you into, okay, well, let's push it this much further. They'll put you in desperate situations, they'll exploit you, but it's kind of like that whole saying, like, if you put a frog in boiling water, it'll hop out. But if you increase the intensity over time, it won't even realize that it's,
Mhm.
in there, and it will die in there. And so in a lot of these human trafficking situations, it's, family members, it's boyfriends and girlfriends, it's people that you would never really expect that are, grooming these people to be put in these positions.
I I'm gonna ask you a harder question because I know at the beginning before we went live, you actually said I could ask you some hard questions, and I
Sure.
didn't have this one in store, but it came to my mind just now. And has dealing with these stories and hearing about these things that have happened, has it kind of changed the way you look at humanity? Or are you still able to kind of divide it?
Um, it's I guess in a way, like, because I never really went into this knowing a lot about human trafficking, and I had that Taken kind of mentality in my
Mhm.
mind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of how this happens. It's some obscure thing that like is, miles and miles away. But just here in Tennessee, I think there was like, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but it was like 100 people per month that just in Tennessee are human trafficked, and all that. So it just hits home. And I encourage people to just look at the stats in your own town, and you'll see that, like, you know, this stuff happens all the time from people that you never really expected. Or, there's signs, there's things that, you can kind of detect, like lack of ID, and just scattered stories and all sorts of different things. Malnourishment is another big one. But yeah, I guess it's changed my way in the way I look at humanity, because like I said, initially I didn't really come into this being an expert, but just wanting to help.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it sounds to me like you're learning on the job in a way, like the more you dive into this unknown realm, the more you're kind of seeing this like weird underbelly all around you. And that's why I wanted to ask you kind of that question because I know for me, I feel like it would kind of divide me, like I wouldn't know how to look at people in the same way that I did before. And I don't mean in a victim sense. I mean the strangers walking down the street or something like that, because everybody could look normal, but you never know what lies underneath sometimes.
Yeah, and it goes back to the core of how I was raised. I would go to church on Sunday, and everything was, looked on the surface like it was all peachy with my family. and everybody would like admire the pastor of the church, and nobody really could conceive that there was like, I'd go home and there would be knockdown drag out fights between my mom and I, or my mom and dad, and my dad and I, and that there would be like times where I would have to cover up black and blue marks at school, or go to church covering up black and blue marks. And so like I feel like if anybody, this was kind of like, that was my gateway into kind of understanding not like the whole scope of trafficking, but like the reality of like, okay, well, nothing is always as it seems. There's always like a hidden, there can be very much hidden, ways of doing things and stuff like that. And so I guess that was not hard for me to grasp because of the way I was raised, but just the what is it, like the ins and outs of trafficking was definitely a little bit different. You're like, wow, that's how that happened.
Yeah, man. I mean, props to you for just being able to, continue to deal with it. It's one thing to write about it, but to immerse yourself in the stories, it definitely takes a almost like a bleeding heart aspect to really be able to give your all to that. And man, props to you.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And if anybody wants to check them out on Spotify, man, and let me know. I'm always up for the song feedback of any of my songs, and just hope people that can really enjoy it, man. I mean, as dark
Yeah.
as situations are.
Yeah, I like I said, man, it's hard to transition from that, but I'm gonna try
Yeah.
because we'll dive back into a little bit more of the mental aspect of things because this is the Beyond the Breakdown podcast. We got to, but
That's right.
um, I want to talk about something a little bit more lighthearted outside of topping the charts, which I think this week you were at like number 8 with Violated, if I recall.
Yeah, I think so, man. It keeps waffling up and down, and so we're in the 8-9 category, something like that, and just hoping nobody, around Christmas time, it's a little harder. People want to hear Frosty the Snowman, so it's a little harder to sell Violated around the Christmas season. But we'll be back in action around January, February. I'm sure that thing's gonna continue.
Dude, like, what do you think 15 or 16-year-old you would be saying right now, seeing your name on the charts?
Dude, I was like the least likely to succeed in anything in school. Like I said, like teachers never believed it. I never believed it. Like I spent a significant amount of my time in my youth just like trying to grapple with my purpose, trying to figure out what the heck I was gonna do. And so to see it, like, there's Disciple, and then there's like me somewhere on the chart with them, is like just a surreal. And then also getting to write with Josiah, who is the guitar player for Disciple, and he's saying, dude, you really nailed this song, and like congratulating me on my writing capability. Now I'm thinking all the time that I spent not paying attention in math class and jotting down song lyrics was kind of worth it. you
Yeah,
know
man. And I
but
mean, wow, what a band to have, what a guy to have by your side, Josiah, man. I mean, Disciple is one of the undisputed kings of the Christian rock scene.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's just crazy because, like, again, you have to years and I wasn't even from Tennessee. I came from a town called Canisteo, where it was just like a small little cow town. I think maybe what 2,000 people, if that. And so just it was any kind of dream to do anything beyond like Canisteo was very tough. I love all the people there, like they're awesome people, but like it's not very expected that somebody from a town of 1,000, 2,000 people is going to, be on the charts and doing rock stuff. And when I would say that to my friends, I remember distinct conversations where I would be trying something or doing something. I've always had that like ambitious spirit. And I've had friends, be like, dude, why don't you just give up, Sassano? It's not going to happen. Like, what are you thinking? Like, and so it just goes to show, like, you can go from this small town person with a laundry list of disabilities and people doubting you to like, hey man, like I'm gonna just continue to push through. And it's just a crazy experience.
Dude, I could imagine, man. Like, I mean, I don't come from a small town by any means, but I know the feeling of being told you can't accomplish things because of disabilities. Where I have epilepsy, and like
Oh,
much like you, I can't drive. I mean,
wow.
I'm hindered beyond belief sometimes with that, and it's like when people would tell me, "Oh, you're never gonna do this, you're never gonna do that," it's like, man, I'm gonna prove you wrong, and that's exactly what me and you are doing every single day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Oh, so you can't drive either, huh?
No, man. So,
Man,
uh, I've been diagnosed with epilepsy since I was a year old. I had that was when I had my first set of brain surgeries, but um, ever since then, like I have convulsions, and I also have what's called staring spells, basically. So it really prohibits any chance of ever being able to get my license.
oh wow, man. And has it affected the podcast? Like, have you found yourself trying to fight doing some of these tendencies on the air?
Every now and then, man. Like, I usually have to do like a like this is a little bit of behind the scenes, so like, I don't think I've ever actually been asked that. So thank you.
Yeah.
um, I usually actually have to do a dark mode, because I'm also light sensitive at times. So I have to do like a dark mode for the browser and for the behind the scenes thing and all that, like what I'm looking at
Wow.
right now. Because if not, my eyes will kind of like that feeling you get when you look at the sun for too long? How your eyes kinda just,
Yeah, they dim out and they kind of like
Yeah.
everything's a little dimmer.
Yeah, and then they kinda almost, like, hyper focus for just, like yeah, I get that about, like, 10 times a day.
Oh my gosh, dude. And so I imagine that, going to concerts and stuff would be a real struggle for you too, because they've got the strobes and the lights and the smoke and that's got to be a little different, doesn't it?
So here's the crazy thing, man. The band that I'm a part of, Kill Bait Overdose, man, we have our own lighting rig, alright? And so doing it that way, I can handle perfectly fine when I'm not looking directly at it. But if I'm the one that is up on the stage and the lights are shining down or something, I can
Yeah.
handle it. But the other way, it affects me so badly.
Dude, I imagine so. I get that, man. Because I don't even have that issue. And it's hard for me. Sometimes I'll be on a stage or something and I can't see because of the strobes. And I've almost like taken a face dive off the stage, just stepping the wrong way. And
Yeah.
so with you, man, when you've got epilepsy, it's got to be a little bit more nerve wracking in some sense.
It can be. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the worst thing. I mean, there's definitely worse things to have. Like, I mean, I don't like to sit here and say that I have it real bad, but
Yeah.
it can be challenging, man. Like it made well, much like with the dyscalculia and different things like that, it made your more modern and just mundane activities really hard to kind of accomplish sometimes.
Yeah, man. Well, I expect like you got to write a song about this, man, because that'd be a really cool thing, man. I don't know how you would like, put it into words, but that'd be a cool song. Just kind of like,
Uh,
metaphorically approaching it somehow, Breaking
so
Benjamin style.
yeah, well, see, I think album, my first album kind of touched a lot on it back a couple years ago, and then I have a lot of songs that kind of touch on dealing with epilepsy and bipolar and manic depressant and blah 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 blah. But I do it just, much like you, not only to shed light, but to kind of just release those feelings because I don't feel like there's too many people that are really out there discussing what it's like to feel like you're bipolar or manic depressant or things like that to the extent where it's not a metaphor.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I like that, man. Citizen Soldier does a decent job at like doing a lot of mental health stuff.
Yeah.
There's a handful of us out here,
Yeah.
but there needs to be more for sure.
Oh, dude, absolutely. And to kind of get back onto the main subject of this podcast, which is you. I apologize, man. I didn't mean to take that segue.
You're good, man. I love this. It's cool. We get to know a little bit more about each other, man, and that's all good.
Yeah. Um, so like I just want to this again is not planned, so it's off the top of my head, but I want to say thank you You were at the beginning of the podcast just about, man. Everything was so different. The layout that I had, the layout that you had, I mean, where we were as individuals. And I just want to personally say, before we go any farther, thank you for taking the time tonight just to catch up, man. It feels like I'm catching up with a bro, and that's like the coolest thing to me.
Yeah, man, I enjoy it, man. And just to see the podcast continue to grow and to continue to be on, on another note, man, if you need any suggested guests, like just drop me a message and like, I'll be able to, I have connections within my circles and stuff, maybe to even get you some more people on here so that we can all share in this experience, dude. So let me know if you need anybody, that if you're looking for a specific artist, maybe in my realm, and I'll
Yeah.
suggest people to you.
Dude, I would absolutely love that. We talked a little bit off air, but I am almost booked up past February already, and I just put the email out today about needing some guests. So I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. It's really cool. But I will definitely hit you up. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about though is your social media game has been upped ridiculously.
Yeah, man, it's slowly crawling. How that all happened is I didn't even like I've never been the tech guy. Like I really suck at technical stuff. I can kind of get my way around Instagram and Facebook, and I'm really good at like returning messages when people message me. But as far as like the finesse on the videos, never really been good at that. So what happened was I was at this festival called Agape Festival, and there was a guy there that I was just nice to. He worked the camera. He would like film the bands and all that stuff. Little did I know that he actually worked for a company that was on Shark Tank. It's called Flex Screen.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, man. And so he just became really good friends with me. I had no idea that he did social media stuff. And then just one night he was like, man, I just feel like I should help you out. And I was like, yeah, like help me out, And he was like, one thing kind of led to another. And he's like, man, I just like to like join your team. So shout out to Josh Fetterhoff for like helping me with my social media presence and kind of just, we just set up the exclusive group, the Defiant, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, he's been like a huge part of how this operation is continuing to expand little by little. So I appreciate that. And because I know that stuff drives me nuts. Like, just the idea of social media. And I love talking to people, but it's, how do you get these videos edited and how do you do all these things? And now my mind's a little more relaxed. I can, focus on what I want to focus on, which is connecting with people.
Oh, dude, I can completely relate to that because I run 4 different pages. So, I mean, I am in overload every time I look at a reel or anything. I'm like, I don't want to look at this anymore.
Yep. And then there's always the string of, for me, the Elon Musk lookalike comments. So you got to sift through those. Everybody now thinks I look like Elon Musk. It's kind of been like an online joke through everything. So that's why I'm rocking the shirt today, because I'm, rocking but yeah, social media is one of those things. I just got on X too. So if y'all have X accounts, that's one more place where you can find me. But yeah, it was a challenge, but we're glad for Josh. And now I can focus on, communicating with people and not having to do every single day, just myself posting. It's like
Yeah.
a thing where it's like, oh yeah, I've got like a team here that can kind of back me up.
And that's really a lifesaver in a way, man, because if they know your brand and they know the message that you're trying to put across to all your socials, it saves you so much time and honestly heartache. Because when you're an independent artist, man, you're not only doing the music, you're doing the promotion, you're doing the booking, you're doing everything.
Everything, man. Like the Spotify, the social media, the like, and just the idea of like the amount of time that it takes to form friendships, like genuine friendships with people, to where they want, like back in the old days, in the Metallica days, it's like, they got time to, put out albums and take 2 years off and then put out another album and people love them just the same. It's like now in this age of social media, it's almost like, what have you done for me lately kind of thing. So you always have to stay, like back in the 80s and 90s, it was different. It was a different game. But now it's like, you got to really invest in people so they invest in you, because there's so many other options out there. And I'm not saying that because like I'm being ingenuine. I'm just saying like part of this whole thing is, you have to really invest in the people that invest in you, back when, unlike the old days when you could just show up on the scene. Metallica dropped an album and people were like, oh, you
I
know.
a part of me wishes that you and me were able to be in that era.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. Those people got kind of a little bit, like, I want to say a little bit luckier, because it kind of seems like before the internet kind of fractured the whole music industry, the people that were in front of our faces on like, MTV or Fuse or any of those, like they kind of made out well on social media because people had
Mhm.
followed them. There was only like one place to consume, or a handful of places to consume music back then. So now there's so much more, noise, that you literally, to stand above the noise, have to do 10 times more to even get noticed, or have any sort of, make any sort of noise. And so, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I gotta ask you, does that kind of tend to almost burn you out?
Oh man, it has in the past. It definitely has in the past, because not only um, do you get that like burnout from posting and all that kind of stuff, like it gets a little bit crazy. But then there's also those people, even in the Christian music industry, that will claim big things and they'll like not follow through on their stuff, like label people, or people that are like, oh, I know the secret how to crack this code on Instagram, and like I can get you millions of followers, and I can do this for you and that for you. And so you almost like take the bait as like an aspiring artist that wants to reach as many people as possible. And
Mhm.
those people can really, like, I've gotten ripped off thousands of dollars before, just like from people like taking advantage of the new guy, or like, that crabs in a barrel type of, scenario, where they just want to drag you down. They see you as kind of like a, uh, they see you as kind of, they're like the vampire, and they can just suck the blood from you because you don't know any better. And so there's people even in the Christian music industry that'll be like, oh, I know this secret. Oh, have you done this? And all the while they're charging you money to like continue guiding you down this path of like, there's no discernible end, or like no. And the thing that I realize is that there are strategies that you can do
Mhm.
to increase your visibility and all that stuff. Like Josh has been great with that, but there is no like secret code to making it in the music industry in 2024. Like it's kind of like, Taylor Swift's road is different than Eminem's road. Eminem's road is different than, whoever's road.
Mhm.
And so all it comes down to is really just finding your audience and being the best you can to your audience. And if you do that consistently, I feel like you'll continue to grow. But anybody who tells you like, I can guarantee you this, or I can guarantee you that, that to me is just that's a, that's a scam.
Yeah. No, 100%. So as a rapid fire question while we're talking about Spotify and releases, do you prefer a single to be dropped or do you prefer albums?
Okay. I really do love the albums and stuff like that, but the singles, like I can put my best work out. So like I'm one of those people that's just like, I want to put the best work out. Let's crank a single out there and on to the next one.
Okay, okay. I've had some interesting answers on that one, so I always love to know what people think because it's crazy, man, how the world has changed because it used to be album based, not single based.
And there is a certain nostalgia to it. I won't say that I don't miss those days, but like as a writer, as a person who, you put together an album, you're recording that album, and then you change over 2 years, and your perspectives change, and your thinking changes. And so now by putting out singles, for me, I love the idea that I can go, well, I was planning on kind of recording this song, but now that I'm feeling this way, really passionate about this, I can short term throw this in the studio and then like have real time emotions that bleed through in a genuine way. Because like you put together that album, you change, you get dumped, something
Yeah.
happens to where it's like, I gotta write about this now, but now I put all this stuff in. Now I've written a love song to a girl who dumped me and I can't do anything about it. It's like, yeah, things happen. And I love the idea that the single you can kind of just write as you go through life.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, dude, I can absolutely see your side of it. Man, I struggle. I don't know. I won't take too much time, but it's like I still love the album feel just because
Yeah.
I'm old school. I grew up listening to like DC Talk Jesus Freak all the
Yeah.
way through and like Petra and Striper, things like that. And it's like to me it wouldn't have been the same if it didn't have the full effect, you know?
Exactly. And I do miss the nostalgia of it. I miss like going through a band's booklet and like being like, what bands did they thank on their thank yous? And then you go and check those bands out. And like it was almost like you were discovering these bands, in a completely different way. So I definitely see like the pluses and minuses of both sides. But I would say as I've aged and I've, gotten into the role of a musician, I love the idea of just going in studio, putting the most relevant song forward to yourself and in a short amount of time, and then also just keeping the audience's attention. Like you put an album out, and there are bands that can really pull this off, like bands like Breaking Benjamin or
Hmm.
bands that have established followings. Like
Yep.
their audience is always going to crave those albums, which is awesome. But for me, somebody somewhat of an up and comer, like you just got to keep hitting them with songs. And I think the best way to do that is to put out the single and then the more singles and all that stuff.
Dude, absolutely. So I gotta touch on this for just a second before we get into the Defiant, because man, what a story from what you told me with some of that. Um, are you going to be doing any kind of physical releases? Are you going to be doing CDs?
So what we've been kind of toying with the idea of is like once we get a good round of singles out there on Spotify and all the social networks, is to take like the highlights of those singles and then like print up our own kind of bootleg CDs. Like we're in a very much like DIY kind of culture right now, I
Mhm.
would say. Not that I don't respect the bands that put out albums. It's awesome when you could listen to a full thing back to back. But I really just want to let like people drive what we put on those CDs. So we might come out with like EPs as we go. So like, okay, our top popular songs on this, we might throw a hidden gem in there and all that. But like our main goal is to kind of accumulate Spotify, and then like whatever those popular songs are or whatever people demand, we'll put on like little EPs that we can put at the merch table.
Oh man. Well, when you do, I definitely need to get a copy. I also need to get a Sassano hoodie because I had no idea these things were in existence.
Oh, bro, yeah, we got a at our merch store at mattsassano.com. If y'all want to join the movement, become a Defiant, the best way to do that is to get one of our t-shirts. And like for the Christmas season, for anybody who wants to buy a t-shirt, I also or a hoodie or any other merch, I'll also throw in like a handwritten letter to you. So if that means something to you, I'm up for it. So we really
Oh,
enjoy the support because, like I said, we're kind of like an upstart. As much as I've done in my life, touring with Petra and all that stuff, like it's grueling. So any sort of thing that we can do to kind of help us with travel expenses or any
yeah.
expenses, we appreciate that a lot.
Oh man. I can't thank you enough because I teed that up and you just nailed it out of the park with just knowing exactly where I was going with that plug.
Oh, really? Oh, dude, thank you so much, man. Yeah, yeah. Come on in, and we'll, buy as many hoodies as you can. Christmas is coming up, and even if somebody doesn't know me, it would really be cool to unwrap a gift and be like, "Who is this person?" Oh, go on Spotify, check it out, and then maybe introduce them to a brand new band.
Yeah. Dude, that would be awesome. Real quick, I just want to get to a little bit more of the chat. I promise, guys, I am not ignoring you. Firehound Gaming, he's been one of the coolest cats that I've gotten to follow the podcast, and it's really cool. He said Ice Nine Kills has been releasing songs only in October, and their last song was worth the wait. It definitely was. I don't know if they're up your alley, Matt, but I mean, it
Yeah,
was
I love
definitely
that, man. They
okay.
are a great band. It takes me back because back in the MySpace days, I'm aging myself a little bit.
Same,
Ice
dude.
Nine Kills was one of the first bands to accept me as a friend on MySpace. Or
No.
yeah, and so I was kind of like keen to those guys. I would say before like the general people were, just from they were hustling on MySpace back in the day. And I remember clicking, you could click their stuff, you could check their music out. And so Ice Nine Kills was one of those bands I love.
Oh man, I miss MySpace.
Yeah, man. Me too. It seemed like it was before like the technocrats took everything, like those people that like now they know how to monetize. But back in the day, you could post a bulletin, all your followers would receive it. You could set up your band page with your nifty little background, and people could like check your music out. And Nine Ice Kills or Ice Nine Kills was one of those that I loved.
Dude, absolutely. They consistently put out some really great work. I'm not always the biggest fan of it, but I mean, there's no denying that they are talented and creative. Man, you talk
Mhm.
about some artistic minds.
Oh yeah, and I remember like growing up going to Warp Tour a lot. So and they were kind of on that circuit, and yeah, it was awesome. And they've blown up. So whatever they're doing,
Dude.
bring some of that over here. That's cool.
Yeah. Um, Going back to the single versus album, Firehound Gaming said Tool hasn't put something out for years now, but rumors say that they're working on something. And then it said, this goes to show that singles in some way could be more important than full albums.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. It's like one of those things where, like, I can see that. I could see the pluses and minuses of both. Like I said, as a writer, it's like it sucks to go through a breakup and then be like, oh, now I got a love song that I can't really erase, or I could have replaced it with a new song. I love Tool too. I mean, I'm not necessarily like a Tool-esque kind of band,
Mhm.
obviously, but I used to try to shred my fingers off trying to learn some of their songs on the bass back in the day. I never succeeded, but we tried.
Okay, so I got to ask you this. Do you think it is because all their music was based on mathematic equations?
Wow. Maybe so, man. I just was never like I was good enough on the bass to kind of tinker around, and like I was more of a showman than anything else, but I could never I wasn't that good. Like, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea, like I can look cool, girls like a guy that plays the bass or, a guitar, and it will look cool. And but then like again, I couldn't sing and play at the same time either. So by the time I realized that I should be a singer, the bass kind of went, you know, had to go away, sadly. I do miss
Yeah.
it sometimes though.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand. Firehound said, "What do you all think about Adam Gontier returning to 3 Days Grace?"
Bro, I love 3 Days Grace, man. And like I said, I mean, it's one of those things where I loved what Matt did with 3 Days Grace. There's a few songs that I really love. Like I Am Machine was like a really
Yeah,
good song. I jammed out to that quite a bit. But there's just something about like replacing a singer that you know and you love. Linkin Park obviously is going
yeah.
through that right now, whereas like you can't really fill the shoes of somebody, and it's very hard to. There have been a few bands that have done it, Petra being actually one of them, and then if maybe there was Journey, who obviously changed singers, and they seem to be doing well, but the handful of those bands that have kind of changed singers and done well, I would argue, is a little slim.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about Adam coming back to 3 Days Grace and bringing back that feel that we all know and love.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Liar's Pacifist over here. He said the song they put out Mayday was really super typical and safe, and it definitely was to
Yeah,
me. Like it didn't feel so much like a 3 Days Grace song.
really. I have to check
Yeah.
it out. Maybe I'm late to it. You know what I mean? And I wonder why they're doing the safe route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it's gonna be though, because it's both vocalists.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
how does that work?
I so apparently the way that they recorded it is they're gonna be trading off in the songs. So
Oh, doing a Blink 182.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like even, in the more metal version, like Kill Switch Engage when they did Signal Fire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting mix, and that way you're not like, throwing somebody out, because it is cool that Matt like stepped up when Adam was going through his time and stuff like that. And I never really hated Matt's vocals. It's just like hard to compete with the nostalgia.
I mean, you listen to like Never Too Late or, Get Out Alive, and then you listen to Matt's voice and it just doesn't hit the same for me.
Yeah, yeah.
It,
There's a lot of, and that's why, like I said, dude, like that's what motivated me to become the front man. Like my initial thing was I'll play bass and write the songs, but then like a week late, you get something going, then somebody's like, hey man, I'm just, having a weird feeling, and then you have to reintroduce another singer and another singer and another, and then down the line, you're like, I'm just going to do this. I'm writing the songs. I'm feeling the songs. I'm understanding why I want to write these. And so, yeah, I'm so glad that in retrospect, like I began the whole singing journey, because I couldn't imagine trying to drag people to Tennessee and trying to coax them to be in my projects and stuff like that. Ah, man. So,
Well, here's another kind of off the wall question brought on by chat. So, while we're talking about dual voices here, I mean, do you have any plans for any kind of collaborations?
yeah, man, we're trying to work on a series of collaborations and stuff like that. Like, it's big right now to kind of like take one of the songs that people know, like a Happy Family or a Dear
Mhm.
God, and then like introduce another vocalist. I've talked about doing a collaboration with maybe, a few people, um, but nothing's really come of it yet. So I'm trying to be careful of. But my dream collaboration would either be, somebody like a John Cooper from Skillet, or, even Ben from Breaking Benjamin, or
Oh,
any of those, man, would be super cool. I don't know if they'll happen, but that'd be really awesome. Or, since people think I look like Elon Musk, maybe have Elon Musk do like a voiceover in one of my songs. You never know. I'm dreaming here, but
you need the song that he does to be called Sasla instead of Tesla.
yeah, dude. You know what I mean? That'd be awesome. So I don't know. Those are just ones that kind of hit me. John Cooper would be a dream one. Breaking the guy from Breaking Benjamin, even like Red, or I
Yeah.
don't know. Who else do you think would be good on a track like mine? Who do you think?
Oh, dude, Trevor McNevin from Thousand Foot Crutch, dude. Uh,
Oh, dude, he would be sick, man. I never thought about
oh,
that.
dude, I could definitely see his vocals, or maybe Manifest.
Dude, yeah, dude, he's actually a guy that is running the Spotify course that actually has helped us a lot up our Spotify a little more. You know, we're not like massive. We're up to like 14K monthly listeners, but we hope to have more. But like he took us, I remember 2 years ago I was at like 500 monthly listeners, and I started
Yeah,
digging into some of Manifest stuff, and it's really helped us. So for any upstart artists out there that are looking to, have a, like up their Spotify numbers a little bit realistically, he's a great resource. Chris Greenwood, just to help any artists out there that might want to do that.
yeah. Oh, Liars Pacifist said Love and Death.
Oh, dude, yeah. Brian had Welsh
Yeah, dude.
keys
Oh,
too, man. That would be
I
sick.
love Brian.
Oh, dude, one of my friends, Zana, she was signed to his label. I forget what it's called now, but she just recently gotten signed. So, yeah, dude, he's in our circle now, man. It's really cool.
Oh, dude. Oh, and he also said collab with Pillar.
Oh, dude, I remember, dude. I that was one of those bands that also shaped me growing up. I remember going to
Fireproof.
one of their concerts, and one of my friends jumped on stage while they were playing and got booted out. So it was around 2006. Now I'm getting old. So but yeah, Pillar was one of those bands that you couldn't help crank up back then.
No, dude. I remember finding Pillar, and it was right when they came out with Fireproof. And we
Yeah.
had gotten that album at a local Christian bookstore. We got that, and we got Demon Hunters, the Triptych, or Summer of Darkness. I can't remember.
Oh, dude, both really good albums, man, for
Yeah.
sure. And looking back to, I had an old band called Transparent Soul when I first moved here, and Lester from Pillar did all the drum tracks for that album. So
Oh,
that was super cool. And getting to meet him, I have like somewhere in my room somewhere there's a broken drumstick with Lester Estelle's signature on it. And back then I wasn't really even remotely known at all, and so I was just this little guy moving to Tennessee trying to put out an EP. And Travis Wyrick, who produced that album, kind of called in a favor. I was like, I think we could get Lester on this. Why not? And he came in late at night drumming like a maniac. It was like in his DNA, like no instruction at all, no like oversight. He just heard the song once, and mid
oh, man.
hearing it, I don't even think he took the time to listen to the song once, and he already had like this perfect drum interpretation, like so quickly. It was massively weird to watch.
Dude. Oh,
Yeah,
man. See, now my head's filled with so many different collaboration ideas. The one that immediately jumped to me, and I know we gotta move on to it another thing here in a second, but Michael Tate from DC Talk, dude.
for real, dude. Yeah, that would be really cool. Bringing some of the old school and like new
Yeah.
kind of flair to everything. I
Yeah.
love those guys. I remember like when I first got into rock music, like I would play air guitar, and like that Jesus Freak from DC Talk was the first song where I was like in front of the mirror with the hairbrush and like
Yep.
the broom doing the air guitar. And so, dude, that would be a great moment for me. Anybody else get like collaboration ideas and stuff like that? Message them to me because sometimes they slip my mind, and it'd be great to have people just like listen to the songs and be like, I think this, it'd be a cool collab. Even I'm open to everybody. So like it could be a Christian artist, it could be somebody like Smile Empty Soul. I'd love to
Yeah.
do that. Anybody like that, man, be really fun.
Well, dude, the last thing before we move on, but I just had this thought that I wanna hear a version of you singing "So Help Me God" by DC Talk or "Mind's Eye."
Dude, yeah. I'm gonna actually, when I get off this podcast, I'm probably gonna end up listening to those songs and just kind of peeling them apart. Because that's the thing I love doing. I have a few covers that I've done. I've done Skillet's Monsters, some
Yeah.
people might know, and then I did Eminem's Lose Yourself, kind of, when I'm in like a different crowd of people, like just a good mix of different covers. So I've actually been looking, and I'll have to check those out.
Heck yeah. Liars Pacifists. Remember the band We As Human or Jonah 33? I grew up listening to both of those on our local radio station. We As Human went on to kind of change their sound, but their first EP, Burning Satellites, was
Dude,
incredible.
I loved it, man. I love all of We As Human. Actually, when you look at my Dear God video, I don't know if anybody's seen the Dear God video, but Jake Jones, who played for We As Human, was one of the helpers behind the scenes. So
Oh,
I got
cool.
to meet him, hang out with him. We were cracking jokes together. In that scene where I'm on that revolving bed, like
Yeah.
he's off screen, just revolt, like he was kind of spinning me around till I puked. So yeah, I got to meet him, hang out with him, and it was cool.
Oh, dude. Oh, well, here we got another one. How about the singer of Chevelle?
Oh, dude, a Chevelle collaboration was
Dude.
absolutely insane. That was I love that, man. Vitamin R was a great song.
Leading us all along.
We're gonna have to figure something out, man. I'm gonna be writing down my collaboration ideas for
Right?
2025.
And if you ever need any, tasty fry screams, just hit up JT over here and then I got you.
Oh, dude, there you go, man. Connection for sure. Dude, yeah, hit me up anytime. You never know what could happen. You know what I mean?
No.
I'd love to. And the cool thing about me and you is we kind of got like a similar backstory in the fact that we've both battled like intense things. So it kind of fits with everything.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, I was honored to get to be a part of Fuel. I mean, I got to do that little cameo in it, and dude, it was so cool to just see it on there, man. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem, dude. You did a great job.
Ah, I appreciate it. I was nervous as all get out, man.
I used to be that way too, man. But warming up to a podcast, I'd get like all freaked out. But it gets better, man. You'll do, but you killed it.
Ah, I appreciate it. So we're gonna go a little bit darker here, but not too much because there's still a lot of hope with it. I want to go and talk about the Defiant.
Yeah.
So I actually want to read the definition of this group because it really, really touched me. And it says a community for those who have faced life's toughest obstacles and come out stronger, and for those currently fighting battles with resilience and courage. They're more than just a group. You're a family united by your shared experiences of overcoming adversity. In the Defiant, you believe that struggles don't define you, but your determination and spirit do. And this is a safe space to share your story, find support, and inspire others with your journey. Together, we rise above the trials of life, lifting each other up and proving that no matter what life throws at us, we are the Defiant. And to me, the very first thing that reached out to me on that, Matt, was all inclusive.
Yep. Exactly.
So many people, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, so many people would have felt the need to put a more faith-based thing in there. And the possibility of discouraging people from checking it out.
Exactly, man. And that's something that I never really wanted. Again, like I am a Christian, but
Yes.
I love the idea of getting to know people from all walks of life and really like expanding my music beyond those kind of borders. I love getting to play for, Christian audiences and stuff, but I think part of what we're trying to do is to reach people beyond those borders. And so in this group, the Defiant, it could be that you're just a general rock fan and you love rock and roll music. You could share your band stuff if you like, or maybe you're somebody we have people in there that have gone through disabilities. We have 3 or 4 human trafficking survivors in there. We have people that are overcoming addictions. So really what the Defiant is, like you just read, are people that are not letting the odds, or what people say about them, like define them. And that can range from anything. And so if you're a Christian, we welcome you. If you're not a Christian, we welcome you. We don't draw any lines there. Now, if you start like promoting a bunch of crazy stuff in there, we'll have to,
Well, yeah,
but
yeah.
at the same time, man, we're pretty open minded. And if you just need a group that encourages you, and and you need this kind of community, man, we're welcome to have you in there.
Yeah. And I just became a member today. I believe an admin approved me right before the podcast actually.
Yeah, dude. So it's really awesome in there. You can post stuff about what you're doing. You can like we'll have questions. We just did like a Christmas trivia night. So the winner of our Christmas trivia night got like a merch bundle from me, and then we brought Josiah from Disciple in to guest in there. We had like a little secret guest, and so hopefully, if this gets big enough, we'll have you know people like Lacey Sturm or somebody in there, or like even I'd love to have even people like Breaking Benjamin, like the guy from Breaking Benjamin. I don't know if this will ever happen, but like he's overcome so much with his like anxieties and his
Yeah.
his mental health issues and his health issues, that like even somebody like that, if I can ever get big enough, we'd love to guest.
Well, I mean, dude, Ben from Breaking Benjamin, like some of his stories are ridiculous just from the little that he's given out about the stories of some of the songs. Keith Wallen from Breaking Benjamin is another good one to look into. He actually, I think, joins a lot of groups.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. We're hoping to expand what we're doing right now. I think we're up to like 223, 224 members. So it's a small group. We're kind of grassroots. So yeah, if you've overcome something and you want to share insights in there, or if you're just like a general rock fan that wants to share about rock, sometimes in the Christian we'll have Bible studies for those who want to do it, but we're not forcing anybody to do anything.
Mhm.
And so it's just like this cool community of all sorts of people.
See, that's what I really truly love about talking to you is you are of the faith and I am not anymore, but we can still sit here and we can talk and we can converse in
Yeah,
some of the best ways possible because you're not judging me and I'm not judging you. And it's like I wish there was more of that tolerance in this world.
yeah, man. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, we've all been there and we're all on our different journeys and stuff. And I would love for you one day maybe to come back to faith, but I'm not one of those people that can determine that. And so,
Yeah.
my whole thing is like just be an influence where you can. And if people like the music, then that's great. If it helps them in everyday struggles, then that's awesome. Maybe the Jesus thing isn't for you, but if it gets you off drugs, if it
Yeah.
helps you through a family dispute or something that you're going through that's dark, if you're a human trafficking survivor and you just say, hey, man, I don't get like the God thing, but I love the music. Hey, that's cool too.
Yeah. And I think that's a big appealing factor of your music too, is while it is faith-based, it isn't so in your face that people outside of that realm couldn't listen to it and enjoy it and relate it to their life as well.
Exactly. And I came from like not only loving Christian music, but I was a huge fan of Papa Roach, Breaking Benjamin,
Yeah.
Linkin Park. And so like I'm very much a product of all sorts of things. While the Christian side of it did play a part, and I love all those bands, it's not like I just exclusively went through life listening to Christian music. I just always loved rock in general.
Yeah. And also, real quick, I know you already know this, but to anybody who's listening now or in the future, I am not hating on any kind of religion at all. Whatever you want to do is all up to you. I've just, I appreciate great music in every aspect, but I appreciate even better people and getting to really dive into your story the two times that I've had you on, man. It has really been something.
Hey, man. Well, I appreciate you for doing this. I know you were sick with pneumonia like a week ago, and so we had to reschedule, but I really appreciate that powered through and we got to do this. And thank you to all your listeners in here
Yeah.
that have been typing questions and just being fun. It's been cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I said it I think the first time you were on here, and I definitely want you back. But before we do close, I gotta ask you, do you have any shows coming up?
Yeah, so we're in the process of just kind of like, creating a tour circuit. I know that I've got some shows in PA coming up this summer, and we're just gradually kind of building it. Our thing right now is to really up our social media presence and our Spotify, and then secondary, just trying to get shows around. And so if you're in the PA area, I know I've got some stuff secured there. If you have any suggestions, places that you'd like to see us, always drop it. Like that's another thing where joining the Defiant would be a great thing because you could like if you have a venue that's open or a place that you'd like to come and have me guest, drop suggestions in there. We're always up for that.
Now, I gotta ask you, do you, do churches? Like, do you ever get the chance to, like, go to churches and perform?
Oh yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
churches. So we do a lot of churches. When I was on tour with 7 Day Slumber, that was kind of our primary. But I'm also, I do churches, but I'm also not like opposed to doing like bars or clubs or anything like that. So we're open to all of it. If you've got a venue that wants to do it, and we can talk about like the travel expenses and all that, of course,
Yeah,
and what it would take to bring me there, man. I'd love to. I try to do
dude.
these things in a pretty reasonable way where I'm not like milking anybody and I'm not like super expensive, but we've learned within the last couple of years that it does take a little bit of time to cover the travel expenses and the food and all that stuff. So if you're wanting to, I'd love to come out your way if we can strike something up.
Dude, man, that makes me so happy because a lot of people don't understand, though, it takes money to do this.
It does, and that's the sad part about like, it's the part that you hate to address where you're like, I just wish I could just go for free and do it for free. And like I said, like we don't like gouge people. So if I come out, like I expect like, maybe a hotel room, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Get me BK, cover the meal, and then like help us break even on gas and maybe something. Um, as well as just the opportunity to sell merch and get to know people that way, and usually it's pretty good just depending on like the miles traveled because it can we've had times where we were eating ramen like nonstop and we love ramen but that you know we don't want to too much of that'll kill you.
Uh, you burn out on it real quick.
Yeah, and so like we try to be reasonable with it, and I'm not trying to become, it's not my goal to become rich or whatever. I just want to be able to do it, cover expenses, and maybe go home with a little bit you know uh, that that I can say, hey man, that was really cool. We got to meet people. We're not starving. This is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Liars Pacifist, always a lovely time, Matt, either watching you talk or being the one that interviews you.
Hey man, well it's awesome. I got to join Will, I think a few months back, and when we first dropped Violated, and I love his podcast too. So as well as checking this one out, go and check out Liars Pacifist. Both really
Yes.
amazing podcasts, and it's always a highlight of my time being on either of these.
Yeah, well, real quick, I got just a couple more questions for you, and then I will let you be on your way. The first one is I know I got the ticker running down there where people can follow you, but for those that are listening and not watching, tell them where they can find you, Matt.
Yeah, so all the standard social media. We've got Instagram, Facebook. I just joined X, so I have like 20 followers. If y'all want to bump it up a little bit, join me on X. TikTok, we've got. I don't do any crazy dancing. Well, I actually have one video of crazy dancing,
I
but
was
that's
gonna
beside
say,
But yeah, I'm on all the standard ones. And then, like, again, please do join the Defiant if you are just a general rock fan or you have overcome something. There's a Facebook exclusive group. And if you join the Defiant, you also get like really cool perks with, like, you know, behind the scenes access. There's trivia nights where you can win prizes. There's been, you know, just all sorts of cool stuff.
Dude, I cannot wait to see what this trajectory has in store for you, man. I can't believe the growth that you had in just the 9 months that it's been. And man, I just screen to screen here. I can't be more proud of you, man.
Hey man, thank you so much. And same to you, man. Like I said, it's hard to believe that, like, I was episode 4, and what are we on right now? What,
36.
36 episodes, and we were talking about all the different guests that you've had on. And so I'm just so glad to be a part of, you know, the growth that you've had, and you've been a part of the growth that I've had. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to everybody who's watched, and just yeah, continue.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember if I asked you in the first episode with you or not, but here is the last question that I now ask every single guest, and that is, you went beyond the breakdown with Six Scars tonight. How are you feeling, Matt?
Bro, I'm feeling pumped up, man. It's been an awesome experience, and I am feeling more defiant than ever. So I hope to see you guys on the other side. Keep rocking, guys.
Oh, there you go. Matt, I can't thank you enough for your time, man. I will definitely be hitting you up after this, just to kind of do a little post show, meet up and just once again say thank you, dude.
I appreciate you guys. Keep rocking. Keep being defiant.
See you, man. So, everybody, that was Matt Sassano. I am so very blown away by everything that he has done. I mean, 9 months ago, he came out with Happy Family, and I knew right then and there he was going to be a big time player in the Christian rock industry. And I mean, here he is, he's hitting the charts every single time. And I mean, wow, like, I can't thank him enough for the hour and some change that he gave me. Um, just a few things that I want to touch on real quick, and that is, as of last week or week and a half ago, the podcast celebrated 1 year in existence. I cannot tell you how much this means to me. I was going to make a long post about it on Facebook and let everybody know what this meant to me. And unfortunately, my lovely girlfriend and I got very sick. She came down with pneumonia, and I got a really bad upper respiratory infection, and it put me down. It put me down hard. But to every single guest that I have had, I cannot thank you enough. You all have been more than accommodating with all of your time, with all of your laughs, with all of your heartfelt stories, with everything that you guys have given to the podcast and to me as an individual. There's a nugget of truth that I take away from every single episode. And sometimes I don't even realize it, but I'll be thinking about it and I'm like, man, this is what he said, or this is what she said, or all these things, and I just can't thank you enough. So with that being said, this is the new format. Let me know what you guys think. This is a new layout. This is a new way of doing the podcast that I really wanted to transcend the very beginning that I was doing and really make it into something individualized that kind of hopefully stands out a little bit more and gives it a little bit more depth. And I want to thank Riker Rodriguez on Patreon for being an incredible follower and giving me the time of day just to go on there and check it out. I will be doing more uploads there. I'm going to be doing pre-shows and post-show videos for Patreon, as well as reactions very, very soon. I also want to say, if you wish to follow me on Patreon or become a member of Patreon, you can do so for free, but you can also support the podcast for as low as $1. For as low as $1, you can buy me a cup of coffee a month. It does not matter if you do or not. I'm just letting you know you can. I would greatly appreciate it, but hey, I know times are tough right now. And if you just want to join for free, I'm wanting to build a community of people that are just genuine and fun, and we can have conversations. There's going to be a chat room in there. There's going to be different kinds of videos that you'll be able to see for free members and some for the paid members as well. So if you wish to follow me or become a Patreon member for free or for the dollar a month, please go to patreon.com/beyond the breakdown with Six Scars podcast. And if you are on Twitch, please follow me at twitch.tv/btbpod. And if you are on YouTube and you're watching on Twitch, follow me at youtube.com/6scars. Do you all have any idea how much time that took to remember? I swear, doing these plugs is like pulling teeth sometimes. But I can't thank you all enough. You've been so gracious with your time, with your efforts, with everything, with all your encouragement. Shout out to Will from Liars Pacifist. Shout out to Todd from I Am Mook and the entire Mook family. You know, we got Bleed Them Dry and Mook and Steve and Carbonstone and Crystal James. And I mean, Jared Evans. The list goes on. Like, it's amazing to think I have so many guests that I can't even list them all off. I have an incredibly stacked year already looking. I cannot wait to unveil one of the ones I just got today. If everything goes well, I'm really looking forward to it. So, with all this being said, next week we have Fear Culture. If you don't know who Fear Culture is, be sure to check them out when we go beyond the breakdown with Matt Lehman, the singer of the metalcore outfit Fear Culture. So until then, this is JT. Thank you for going beyond the breakdown with Six Scars.